Okay, so we're continuing there with serial B on page 41. This is part 2 of it. So we're starting there on page 41, and this covers the placard and orange markings, or the orange plates as they call them, on the outside of the vehicle. So you can see there on page 41, that's your diamond label. When it's up on the side of a tank or a truck, it's called a placard. When it's the side of a package, it's referred to as a label. And the size of it there is usually 250 mil by 250 mil when it's up on the side of a lorry. Okay, and on packages or drums or whatever, it's usually 100 mil by 100 mil. That's the diamond placard. So when we're talking about placarding, that's what we mean. Okay, so they should be affixed to each side and the rear of a tanker. Okay, that's your sort of road tanker. And if it's a tank container, okay, or a portable tank, then it's each side, front and rear. Okay, so the tank container, as you know, is the one with the frame on it, or the portable tank's the one with the frame on it, so you're lifting on and off the vehicle. So all four sides there in terms of the placards. Okay. If it has multiple compartments, each side of the related compartment. So if you have multiple substances on, if corrosive substance in the front compartment, flammable substance in the back compartment, then you have the corrosive placards on the front compartment, the flammable placards in the back compartment, and then the two of them at the back of the tanker. Okay, empty tankers shall continue to display the placards of the previous load into properly purged. We've seen purged means to be degassed, usually displayed upright. Okay, in secondary risk, you may have a number of placards on the primary risk and the secondary risk. That's possible too. This is page 41 of your book. Okay, the vehicle markings, we're talking about markings. We're usually referring to the orange plates. Okay, the orange plates can be blank orange plates or numbered orange plates. Okay, as you can see there in the bottom of page 41, the numbered orange plates have what they call the hazard identification number at the top, and the UN number for the substance at the bottom half. Okay, and we'll look at what the hazard identification number means now. So a single substance, if you're just going with a single substance tanker, road tanker, whatever, you can just put the numbered orange plates at the front of the vehicle and the back of the vehicle. Okay. If the transport unit contains multiple compartments, containing two or more dangerous substances, you put the numbered orange plates at the side of each compartment, and then you get the blank orange plates front and rear. Okay, so you have numbered ones at the side and blank ones front and rear. Okay, now we're just talking about the orange plates now. Now there is a sort of dispensation for fuel carrying vehicles, because if you're carrying multiple compartments of fuel, which is a combination of either diesel, petrol, or kerosene, or some of the aviation fuels, then they allow you to do away with the orange plates at the side and just put the numbered orange plates for the substance with the lowest flash point at the rear, front and rear of the vehicle. And do away with the blank orange plates front and back, and do away with the numbered ones at the side, and just put one numbered one at the front and one numbered one at the back. It makes it simpler. Okay, because the hazard presented is the same and the risk presented is the same, because they're all flammable liquids. So you just put up the numbered orange plates for the substance that's the most highly flammable, which is the one with the lowest flash point. Okay, and you have to keep, again, empty tanks, keep displaying it until they're properly purged. Okay. So in summary, tankers, numbered orange plates can be fixed to the front and rear, or blank orange plates front and rear and numbers to the side. So you have a choice. Okay, and placards, the placards on both sides and the rear of the tank. Tank container, blank orange plates fixed to front and rear of the vehicle, or numbered orange plates secured to the side. So the blank front and back numbered to the side of the tank container, and placards on all four sides of the tank container. Again, you're lifted on and off the vehicle when it's full. They must be fire resistant, remain legible for 15 minutes of engulfment of fire. That's the plates and the placards. And if they're covered, whatever covered, sometimes they don't take the plates down, they just cover them. And if they're covered, whatever covering you're using has to be effective for 15 minutes as well. All plates and placards should be visible, clean, and legible. Okay. So folding, sometimes you can get the folding plates as well, and they should be designed so that they're locked, so that if the vehicle overturns, that the plate doesn't open again. You know, so you fold in one thing, you get them sometimes in the with the blank ones, and interchangeable numbers as well, which you get with the fuel tanks, which we'll see in the in the class there. You'll see, well, we have examples of them where they just change the numbers on them, and they slide from one to the other depending on the product you're carrying. That needs to be able to lock through if the vehicle turns over as well, that they don't change the numbers. Okay. So like if your trailer has been left on a boat basically, or on a ferry, then you need to leave the orange plate to the rear of the vehicle as well. Okay, so just a few examples there given on page 42 and 43. There's a single substance. You can either go like so, where you can have the blank orange plates front and back and the numbered ones on the side. Or you can go with that sort of a scenario there where you have the numbered orange plates front and back, and the blank ones, no blank ones there. Placards on two sides and rear there. Okay, that's your diamonds. There's a multi-substance tanker. Okay, that's the default position really there. The blank orange plates front and back, and then the numbered ones on the sides. You can see you have a flammable, you have a corrosive, and you have a flammable in this. So then you put the three placards at the back then. Now, in this case here, each of these substances has a secondary hazard that that is toxic. So you need to put the toxic at the sides as well. Okay. Demountable tanks the same. Okay, the only difference in the demountable there, that they're considered compartments within there with the fixed tank, but then the demountable tank, then you're talking about separate tanks, you know, with no frame around them. So you put the numbered orange plates on the side, blank orange plates front and back, and the placards at the two sides and the rear. Okay, there's the dispensation there to the fuel. Okay, that's the top of page 43. Okay, and again, common exam question, so take note. Numbered orange plates front and back of the vehicle of the substance with the lowest flash point. Okay, so in this situation, you could be carrying petrol, diesel, or kero, or a combination. Okay, and that's only for those substances. Now, if you're carrying anything else, then you default back to this one. Okay, which is the numbered orange plates to the side, blank orange plates front and back. But if you're carrying the fuels, you can put the numbered ones front and back, and the placards two sides and rear. Okay, tank container, blank orange plates front and back, numbered ones at the side, placards, remember, all four sides. Or you could default to that, blank orange or numbered orange plates front and back. That's now in a single substance container, and the placards on all four sides. Okay. Remember with the IMDG, just a couple of requirements there in terms of the IMDG, which is over there on where is it in your book? IMDG is actually on page 48 of your book. Placards that contain both sides, front and rear. UN number may alternatively be placed on an adjacent orange strip, and you see that on page 49 of your book. Okay. You may require the marine pollutant, which is the EHS marking. Okay, it referred there to the marine pollutant, but we're talking about the EHS, which we'll look at. That's the dead fish and the dead tree. Okay, and the proper shipping name needs to be printed as well on each side of the tanker as well. Okay, so you have there the EHS marking that we talked about. That's on page 43 of your book. Okay, again, depending on the substance you're carrying. Okay, you'd have EHS marking. The DGSA would advise you whether you need to have that up or not. Okay, that's all summarized there on from page 41, 42, 43, and 44 of your book. You can have a look at that there. That's all covered there on that. Okay, you have the elevated temperature. You get that. You often see that one on the bitumen tanks. Okay, you need to be able to recognize that. Could be asked that in the exam. Elevated temperature. Okay, bitumen's usually up to 170, 180, 190 degrees. Okay, you see that one. That's the EHS. Environmentally used to be referred to as the marine pollutant label, but it's a mark, and it's an EHS mark, and that's what it's called. Environmentally hazardous. Okay. And then you have another mark, and then for the safety valve, any gas tank that's carrying safety valve, or carrying that has a safety valve fitted, I should say, for class 2 gases. Okay, fixed tank needs to be displayed in both sides and rear. Demountable tanks, both sides and both the ends of each demountable tank. Tank containers, both sides and both ends. So that's all 4 sides. Okay, both sides or both ends if it's a small tank container. Okay, there's your placard that we talked about. That's over on page 46. Again, 250 by 250. You need to know the size of it. The blank orange plates, 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters and what? Know the dimensions of it. Okay. The numbered orange plate is the same size. Okay, which is 30 centimeters by 40 centimeters. The numbers are usually 10 centimeters high. The number at the bottom is the UN number. The number at the top is a hazard identification number. And we're going to look at that now. Okay, so when you're looking at the hazard identification number over on page 47, the first number usually gives you the main hazard, and it loosely sort of equates to the class. 2, there's some sort of an emission of gas due to pressure or chemical reaction. If there's a 3, it's some sort of a flammable liquid. Where there's vapors or gas or self-heating liquid. Number 4 is some sort of a solid or self-heating solid. 5 is some sort of an oxidizing substance. 6 is either toxic or infectious. 7, there's radioactivity associated with it. 8, corrosive. And then 9, there's some sort of a risk of spontaneous violent reaction. Okay. Now, there's a couple of rules there which are outlined on the page 47 and outlined in the red box on the right. The hazard, if the first number adequately describes the hazard, the second number will be a 0. So if there's a 30, for example, that's 3 tells you that it's a flammable liquid. So the 0 is just sticking. Like for example, diesel and kerosene will have a 30. Okay, the second or third number can indicate some sort of a subsidiary risk. Like, so if you have a 38, for example, that means it's a flammable liquid that is also corrosive. This is a corrosive secondary hazard. 36, flammable liquid that also has a toxic hazard, secondary hazard. Okay, you double the number then to intensify the hazard. Okay, doubling the number intensifies it. So a 33 means it's highly flammable. 30 means it's a flammable liquid. 33 means it's highly flammable. 80 means a corrosive. 88 means it's highly corrosive. So you double the number. And then the last rule that you need to be aware of, if it's prefixed by an X, it means it reacts dangerously with water. Okay, so try and remember those rules. They're those general rules. And if any of the hazard identification numbers comes up, you can usually work through them. Now, we'll look at some of the ones with the special meaning there on now in a wee minute. But so there's a few examples. 30, flammable liquid. That means it's from the flash point between 23 and 60. There's one exception, that's diesel. 60, toxic or slightly toxic. 33 is highly flammable. Okay, the flash points below 23 degrees, like petrol, for example, have a 33. 2 tells you that some sort of a gas, and the 6 tells you that it's toxic gas. X362, flammable. Again, the first number, 3, tells you the flammable liquid. The 6 tells you it's also toxic. The 2 gives you a gas element. So it gives out some sort of a gas, and the X means that it's reacts dangerous. So that's a flammable liquid that's so toxic that reacts dangerously with water and gives out a flammable gas. 5, 6, 8, again, 5 tells you it's some sort of an oxidizing substance. The 6 tells you that it's also toxic, and the 8 tells you that it's corrosive. Okay. Okay, and just before you move on, that's page 47, before we move on to the AMG placard, if you turn to the back of your book on page 85, now there's a number of, these are listed within the ADR, there's a number of hazard identification numbers that have special meanings. Okay, they don't follow the rule exactly, so you need to be aware of them. For example, they're 2,2, refrigerated liquefied gas that's an asphyxiant gas. Suffocates you. It's not toxic, not a non-flammable, non-toxic gas, an asphyxiant gas. Okay, go on to 333, pyrophoric liquid. Okay, again, likely to danger of explosion there, pyrophoric. Okay, 4,4, flammable solid in a molten state at an elevated temperature. Okay, 606, infectious substance. The 6,6 is a highly toxic substance, but 606 is an infectious substance. Okay, 90 is environmentally hazardous. 99 is the one you get on bitumen, miscellaneous substance carried at an elevated temperature. Okay. And there's, so so you can have a look at the rest of them and familiarize yourself with the rest of them, because some of them are not exactly, but usually you can work out like a 3, a 6, and a 2. Look, it's flammable liquid that's also toxic, which reacts with water. Now, in this case, there's no X on them. So I don't know why they didn't include the X there. That's the 362. Same 382. Look, no X on it. But the wee 2 at the end should give you a sort of a clue. 482, look, emits flammable gases. 462 emits flammable gases. 642 emits flammable gas. So you can 823 and 623 again, it's toxic substance which reacts with water and gives off a flammable gas. 82, see the 2 indicates the gas and the 3 indicates that it's a flammable gas. The 8 tells you it's a corrosive. So they're a corrosive liquid. 823 corrosive liquid which reacts with water. So look, it's you will be asked about some of those, and you have to try and work through it as best you can. Usually the answer is in the question. So read the question carefully. Okay. The IMDG, we looked at it there. This is back on page 48, 49. Okay. The IMDG, because we're living on an island, a lot of your goods are transported on and off on sea journeys as well, short sea journeys. So the IMDG comes into play there. So if an ADR journey precedes or follows carriage by sea, it can be accepted if it's complying with the IMDG. Okay. And we looked at that. So container, all 4 sides, vehicles, road tankers, placards at each side and rear. And you have to have the UN number printed on it, like shown on page 49 there. Okay. Okay, like so, either a white strip on the placard or an adjacent orange strip over on the other side. Okay, adjacent orange strip, I should say. And there's an example given there where you see there the 2218 looking on an adjacent orange strip there. That's given on page 49. Okay, so that's a lot of your placarding and markings and so on the vehicles, and it's important that you know that there's some questions on the Moodle, so you can go into and do the questions, and then there's have a look at that there back in your book. Okay, so in the event of an accident, again, this is page 50. Now this is taken from your instructions and writing book, so the very first page in your instructions and writing document, I should say, instructions and writing according to ADR. So make sure that you can follow that. Okay. So we saw that you're supposed to remove that, and then basically there's 3 sections in the instructions and writing: accident in the event of an accident, actions in the event of an accident or emergency, additional guidance relating to the hazard characteristics of the danger, because that's 2 and 3, and then the last one is the equipment for personal and general protection. That's your vehicle, crew, and for certain classes. So what, apply your braking system. If you just want to follow it there on your instructions and writing, there's also listed there on page 50 of your book. Okay, apply the braking system, stop the engine, isolate the master switch, avoid any sources of ignition, no smoking or cigarettes or any sort of electrical equipment, inform the emergency services, put on your high-vis vest and put out your self-standing warning signs, keep the transport document and instructions and writing available for the first responder. Do not walk or touch any spilled substances, avoid and stay up one from it, to the one that your back blowing down the way. Actions to be taken during loading, unloading. Only use the fire extinguishers where appropriate. Okay, the fire extinguishers, and the next one there is important. I want you to highlight those 2 on page 50. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fourth, the fifth, the fourth and fifth up from the bottom. You only use fire extinguishers put out small initial fires, tire, brake, engine fires, and then fires involving this load compartment shall not be tackled by members of the vehicle crew. Okay, again, particularly when you're dealing with tankers. Okay, use the onboard equipment to prevent leakages. That's the likes of your spill kit, your bucket, your drain seal, and your shovel. Move away from the vicinity and follow any advice given by the emergency service, because they're the experts on it. Okay, give them as much information as you can as well. Remove any contaminated clothing or PPE. Okay, who's responsible for the guards? Cleanup operation would be the fire brigade, and then it's important to notify them, okay, and your carrier as well, okay, your transport manager. Okay, the BLEVE, the boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, we would have covered that. There's a very good video up on the Moodle there, which takes a look at it. But no, particularly relevant with tankers because it's the heat impinging from the outside of a tank, which can cause the liquid inside to boil, expands into vapor, which causes an explosion. And that's covered there on page 51. You need to be aware of it. Okay, boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, major container failure. Okay, BLEVE. And there are a few examples there just on the slides of experiments. Now, we would have covered these single-step BLEVE in the initial basic, where they did these experiments where they had a fire outside the tank, and the tank ruptured and the gas came out. Single step, it's not a flammable gas inside. Two-step BLEVE, then with a flammable gas inside, so you get a pum-pum, sort of a two-step element to it. And then what you get popular, or not popular, but common with tanks, you get what they call a transient jet. You have or some sort of a relief valve on it, which releases the pressure, Okay, quite dangerous. And you can look at the BLEVE. Static electricity is another one. Good video on there in the Moodle as well, which is very good on static electricity. It's a buildup of electrical charge due to friction. It can be the vehicle on the road, movement of liquid or granules running through the hose. Splash loading, which is sort of frowned upon, is when you're putting your lever and your loading arm into your tank, you need it right down to the bottom, so that instead of splash loading into the tank. Static electricity generates a spark that will ignite flammable liquids. It has to be really controlled with flammable liquids because all you need, something like petrol is highly flammable, very low flash point. All you need is a spark. Precautions to avoid the buildup of static electricity, earth wires used in hoses when discharged. A lot of these are built-in systems now, like your Scully system, earthing and overfill protection. Wear your proper clothing as well, and make sure the tools that you're using, there's no sparks associated with, even like things like steel toe cap boots and that with the steel showing, like you can't, them sort of things are frowned upon, particularly with the when you're transporting flammables. Okay, if you realize that you haven't been earthed when you're loading and unloading, discontinue the operation, wait for the charge to dissipate 15 minutes or so, and then complete the loading operation. So allow it time to dissipate. Okay, as I said, we would have watched it on the course. So if you want to go into Moodle, there's a section there on the transport specializing course videos, so you can go in and watch them on there. Okay, let me see. Okay, overload then, just a wee bit on the overload protection. We said there about the overfill. You can use things like dipsticks and sight glasses, gauges, meters, all them things. Again, you as the driver need to be aware of all of that, when you're filling, loading or unloading, whether it's customer tanks or your own tanks or your own pots, and there are more and more systems now built into your to protect against overloads and so on. Just a bit there on page 53 about cleaning and purging. We said about cleaning, cleaning, but the depurging is basically degassing, getting the vapors and gases out of the tanks. Okay, removal of any solid liquid or vapors from the tank. That's when we're talking about purging. Different cleaning techniques used, and you need to make sure, depending on the substance that you have been transporting, you might be looking at using a particular agent so that it doesn't react with the substance and so on. So there's different ways. Whoever's responsible for cleaning that, you need to have a detailed discussion with them about and give them information on the physical and chemical properties of the substance. Nature of the substance being carried, look at the first aid advice as well. You need to be familiar with that. So if something does go wrong, okay, what PPE you'd be looking at. You need to advise them on the PPE that should be used and the precautions to be taken in the event of a spillage or fire. it's usually you get all that information from the consigner of the goods or the manufacturer of the dangerous substance. They'll provide you with a safety data sheet on it, or if you go online as well, any the providers, they're legally obliged to produce these safety data sheet. Contains a lot of that information, the chemical and physical properties of it, the PPE, first aid advice, transport advice, and so on. Okay, again, the cleaning agent, as I said, depends on the product, the lining material of the tank has to be taken into consideration. You have different methods to clean cold and hot water, blast cleaning chemicals, using some sort of an alkali or an acid, some sort of a detergent to sort of like, to clean out depends very much on the product. Purging there to the air, steam or CO2. Again, the dangers associated with CO2 and nitrogen, again, because they're asphyxiant gases. You need to be conscious of that. All parts of it, pumps, hoses, coupling devices and all, because there's no use in just cleaning out the tank and not cleaning them or purging those, because you can still have vapors in those areas, Okay, and that sort of, there's a method associated with it there, looking operations, removing the key, making sure the vehicles, the brakes are on or the wheel chocks are used, or any locking systems, because you don't want the movement of the vehicle when the process is taking place, air in an empty tank is greater mixture. Again, sometimes all you need is a small amount of air in a tank. So or a small amount of vapors, I should say, and a large amount of air, like, that's the vapor to air ratio. Sometimes all you need is maybe 5 or 6%. I think the vapor volume ratio for or the air to vapor ratio for petrol is 1% to 7%. So all you need is a small amount of vapors, and it can cause a fire explosion. No smoking if exposed to a heat or a spark or some sort of source of ignition. No, don't be using electronic equipment. No naked flames. Tank should be left open again. You avoid the buildup of condensation, that sort of thing. Okay, that's all covered there. Tank entry is a particularly dangerous one there on page 54. Again, you're entering confined space, so you need to take the relevant precautions around that. There's a whole code of practice on that, which is shown there, the HSA. If you go on the HSA's website, you'll get the code of practice on tank entry. You have to things like a harness. You have to have somebody else there with you, so as to in the event if anything goes wrong, if you're going into the tank and you lose consciousness or something like that, they can pull you out, to the harness, or they can raise the alarm or whatever. Okay, make sure the tools you're using inside the tank as well don't cause a problem either. So that brings us up to page 54 there. That's the end of serial B. So we'll cover in the next video there, we'll cover serial C. Okay.